Hi guys, James Not So Cleverly appeared before a Lords Committee this week to talk about the Windsor Framework. Now he was asked a pretty important question by one of the Lords present. So when the EU and Rishi Sunak signed the Windsor Framework, a key part of it that was sold as a benefit was the inclusion of stakeholder groups in Northern Ireland. They would have the right to present opinions on new EU legislation to be implemented in Northern Ireland, but this would be advisory only. It would be up to the EU how the final legislation was drafted. When Cleverly was asked about the makeup of these groups, we got a word salad.
I think the composition of the groups form follows function. It should be quite Bauhaus in its design. So form follows function. So I don't think there's any incentive for us to be prescriptive or limiting on the composition of the subgroups.
So what does that mean? That Northern Ireland people will take part or will not?
Well, they will, by definitely. They'll take part either through their business representative groups or their elected representatives. The point is that these groups are designed to harvest the experience and the views of the people of Northern Ireland. That's why they exist, and they are designed to make sure that there's a structured and credible way of feeding views and ideas and concerns into the decision makers on EU law.
Well, that's exactly it. I'm asking about the structure. What is the structure?
Well, as I say, the structure so form follows function. So
yeah, we heard that already, Bauhaus, okay. but what is that structure? Who is going to be on this group? Is it going to be business leaders? How many business leaders? From what sectors? You have to give us some information. You can't just focus off with it's Bauhaus, it's Bauhaus.
So the structure will be what we view to be the most effective way of harvesting those views and translating those views. So rather than saying, it has to be like this, what we're saying is it has to perform this, and form follows function. So the committee that Mark chaired was looking at the best way of harvesting the views of political representatives, business representatives, community representatives, in order to most effectively feed
no
on.
Decision has been made about such a structure.
Well, no, because we want to make sure it's effective. So I would prefer to be flexible in its structure in order to protect its effectiveness, rather than be dogmatic about its structure and in doing so undermine its effectiveness.
And will this committee be informed of the proposed structure before it is finalised?
I would think that's inevitable, yeah.
He doesn't know. I don't believe he knows. He hasn't a clue what he's talking about. Either it hasn't been decided, but he didn't want to say that, or he doesn't actually know what they're talking about. Yeah, I heard something about some sort of groups. What I'll just use is Bauhaus. I'll throw that at the committee, and maybe that will distract them. Form follows function. That should do it. Once again, and I keep coming back to this. How the heck did he become a minister? He doesn't know what he's talking about. This is potentially very important because business leaders and stakeholders in Northern Ireland would provide input to the EU before legislation is presented, and they would be able to tailor. They won't be able to steer the legislation, but they may be able to have some sort of impact where they say, look, try not to do this, or try to do that, or try and include this in the legislation, or try and exclude that. And if the EU take it on board and see it as, this is something we can work with, then it will benefit businesses in Northern Ireland. But in order to do that, you need to have these groups up and running. You need to know who's going to be in these groups. And I honestly believe that he doesn't know what he's talking about here. He doesn't know what these groups do. He doesn't know who's going to be in these groups. And he doesn't, I presume he doesn't have a time frame for when they'll be set up. But he can't say that at the select committee, so he starts talking about Bauhaus or something. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.